All right, welcome back. I am going to continue on reading from section 3.1. So I'm on page 90 in our books, and I'm going to read about the phases of mitosis and the results of cell division. Okay, so we just read about interphase and its three stages. And then I briefly discussed the mitotic phase. And so now we're really going to dive into what does the mitotic phase actually contain of, which basically the four phases of mitosis, and then the division of the cytoplasm known as cytokinesis. Phases of mitosis. Like interphase, mitosis is a continuous process that scientists divide into different phases, as shown in Figure 7. So here, take a look at Figure 7. We have the phases of mitosis: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. Prophase. During the first phase of mitosis, called prophase, the copied chromatin, so remember chromatin is what we call DNA in the interphase. Okay, we don't call it DNA, we should call it chromatin. All right, so the copied chromatin coils together tightly. The coils form visible duplicated chromosomes. Guys, look, we talked about the structure of chromosomes. Look, there's the centromeres in the center holding those two sister chromatids together. How many sister chromatids are in the nucleus? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many duplicated chromosomes do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Okay. The nucleolus disappears. Nucleolus is where ribosomes are made. And the nuclear membrane breaks down. And you can see that we have this dashed circle showing that the nucleus is breaking down. Structures called spindle fibers form in the cytoplasm. So here are my spindle fibers in green. Moving on to the second phase of mitosis, metaphase. During metaphase, the spindle fibers pull and push the duplicated chromosomes to the middle of the cell. All right, metaphase, middle. Okay, chromosomes line up in the middle. This arrangement ensures that each new cell will receive one copy of each chromosome. Metaphase is the shortest phase in mitosis, but it must be completed successfully for the new cells to be identical. Third phase of mitosis, anaphase. In anaphase, the third stage of mitosis, the two sister chromatids in each chromosome separate from each other. So now they're being pulled away. The spindle fibers pull them in opposite directions. Once separated, the chromatids are now two identical single-stranded chromosomes. As they pull to opposite sides of a cell, the cell begins to get longer. Anaphase is completed when the two identical sets of chromosomes are at opposite ends of a cell. So, anaphase, the sister chromatids are pulled away from each other, and now we call this a chromosome and this a chromosome. Okay. Final phase of mitosis is telophase. During telophase, the spindle fibers begin to disappear. Also, the chromosomes begin to uncoil. A nuclear membrane forms around each set of chromosomes at either end of the cell. This forms two new identical nuclei. Telophase is the final stage of mitosis. It is often described as the reverse of prophase because many of the processes that occur during prophase are reversed during telophase. So telophase starts with T, and I always think of two, starts with a letter T, two new nuclei. Now they say here that telophase and prophase are opposites of each other. Let's take a look at why. Here our chromosomes condense into these nice little X shapes. Over here the chromosomes unwind and they will become spaghetti. Over here the spindle fibers begin to form. In telophase, the spindle fibers begin to break down. In prophase, the nucleus breaks down. In telophase, the nucleus membrane forms. So yes, they are basically identical to each other. They are basically the reverse of each other. All right, dividing the cell's components. Following the last phase of mitosis, a cell's cytoplasm divides in a process called cytokinesis. The specific steps of cytokinesis differ depending on the type of cell that is divided. In animal cells, the cell membrane contracts or squeezes together around the middle of the cell. Fibers around the center of the cell pull together. This forms a crease called a furrow in the middle of the cell. So this forms a crease called a furrow in the middle of the cell. The furrow gets deeper and deeper until the cell membrane comes together and divides the cell. An animal cell undergoing cytokinesis is shown in Figure 8. So here's Figure 8. And you can see that it's basically pinching in two. Imagine this furrow is like a belt, and you're just tightening that belt, tightening and tightening and tightening, and eventually it's just going to pinch that cell in two. Cytokinesis in plants happens in a different way. As shown in figure 8, a new cell wall forms in the middle of a plant cell. So this is a terrible diagram of this process. There are way better diagrams out there on the internet. But here's a cell, okay? Plant cells are boxy because of their cell wall. And because they're so boxy, you can't pinch them in two. So they basically have to build a brand new cell wall in between the two new nuclei. And when it hasn't connected yet, they just call it a cell plate. And then when that cell plate fuses with the cell wall, then it becomes cell wall. So first, organelles called vesicles join together to form a membrane-bound disc called the cell plate. Then the cell plate grows outward toward the cell wall until two new cells form. All right, final part here, results of cell division. Recall that the cell cycle results in two new cells. These daughter cells are genetically identical to each other and to the original cell that no longer exists. For example, a human cell has 46 chromosomes. When that cell divides, it will produce two new cells with 46 chromosomes each. The cell cycle is important for reproduction in some organisms, growth in multicellular organisms, replacement of worn out or damaged cells, and repair of damaged tissues. So I'm just going to stop this right here, okay? The cell cycle in unicellular organisms, okay, I'm going to say one-celled organisms, is really important because that's how they reproduce. If the organism is multicellular, which means it's made up of many cells, then we do cell division to replace worn out or damaged cells. Did you know that you lose thousands and thousands of skin cells every day? Okay, you shed skin cells all the time. You damage your skin. You get little paper cuts or scratches, even bruising. I mean, what's going on there? Cells are dividing and they are repairing those damaged tissues, okay? And then also, most of you are going through development, okay? You're going through growth and development. You're getting taller. What's happening? Hey, you're gaining more cells, okay? All right, reproduction. In some unicellular organisms, cell division is a form of reproduction. For example, an organism called the paramecium often reproduces by dividing into two new daughter cells, or two new paramecia. Cell division is also important in other methods of reproduction, in which the offspring are identical to the parent organism. Growth. Cell division allows multicellular organisms such as humans to grow and develop from one cell, a fertilized egg. In humans, cell division begins about 24 hours after fertilization and continues rapidly during the first few years of life. It is likely that during the next few years, you will go through another period of rapid growth and development. This happens because cells divide and increase in number as you grow and develop. Replacement. Even after an organism is fully grown, cell division continues. It replaces cells that wear out or are damaged. The outermost layer of your skin is always rubbing or flaking off. A layer of cells below the skin surface is constantly dividing. This produces millions of new cells daily to replace the ones that are rubbed off. And then finally, repair. Cell division is also critical for repair and damage. When a bone breaks, cell division produces new bone cells that patch the broken pieces back together. Not all damage can be repaired, however, because not all cells continue to divide. Recall that mature nerve cells stop the cell cycle in interphase. For this reason, injuries to the nerve cells often cause permanent damage. All right, so I just finished section 3.1 here with mitosis and cytokinesis.